Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here. Our topic is writing, compare and contrast, and the subtitle is Exploring Similarities and Differences. Over the course of this presentation, we'll look at how to identify and analyze similarities and differences in various subjects. We'll go through some key strategies and examples to help you improve your writing skills. But for now, let's get started. So let's talk about what compare and contrast really mean. When we compare, we're looking for things that are similar. Think of it as finding the common ground between two things. For example, both mangoes and bananas are tropical fruits, and they both contain natural sugars. That's comparing, finding what they have in common. Now, contrasting is the opposite. It's about spotting the differences. For instance, mangoes have a pit in the center, while bananas have small seeds. These are key differences that set them apart. Understanding both comparing and contrasting helps us see not just how things are alike, but also how they are different. This is important in many areas, from evaluating products to understanding ideas. So, keep in mind, comparing is about similarities, and contrasting is about differences. That's the core idea here. Let's take a closer look at compare and contrast keywords. These words are essential because they help us identify similarities and differences between ideas, concepts, or objects. When we talk about compare keywords, we're focusing on words like same, like, alike, also, both, similarly, in common, too, as well as likewise, equally, and resemble. These words signal that two things share common features. For example, I might say, both mangoes and bananas are sweet fruits, which clearly shows a similarity. Similarly, if I mention, online classes and live classrooms require student participation, the word similarly links these two to highlight a common aspect. Or, cats and dogs alike need regular veterinary care, emphasizes that both animals require attention. Now, contrast keywords are quite different. They help us point out distinctions. Words like different, unlike, however, but, whereas, while, instead, on the other hand, in contrast, yet, although, and differ serve this purpose. For example, mangoes have a pit, whereas bananas have small seeds, clearly distinguishes between the two. Or, online classes offer flexibility, but live classrooms provide direct interaction, which shows a contrast between the two formats. And unlike dogs, cats are more independent animals, highlights a key difference. In summary, these keywords are powerful tools in our language. They help us clearly communicate whether two ideas are similar or different, which is vital for making our comparisons clear and meaningful. This understanding ties into the overall theme of effective communication and critical thinking. Now, let's explore how to create a Venn diagram. First, draw two overlapping circles. Each of these circles will represent one of the items we're comparing. Next, label each circle clearly by writing the name of the item at the top of each one. This helps keep everything organized and easy to understand. Then, fill in the middle section, the overlapping part, with characteristics that both items share. These are the similarities that connect them. Finally, on the sides of each circle, write down the characteristics that are unique to each item. These are what make each one different. By following these steps, you can effectively visualize both the similarities and differences, which is a really useful way to compare and analyze information. Let's take a closer look at the comparison between mangoes and bananas. Both of these fruits are classic examples of tropical produce, and they share several key similarities. For instance, they are both rich in natural sugars, which not only give them their sweet taste, but also provide a quick source of energy. Additionally, they are both excellent sources of potassium, an essential mineral that helps maintain healthy blood pressure and proper muscle function. Another common feature is that both fruits have edible flesh, making them convenient and enjoyable to eat directly. Now, despite these similarities, there are some notable differences. Mangoes have a large pit or seed right in the center, which you need to remove before eating. The flesh of a mango is sweet and juicy, and it can come in a variety of colors, yellow, red, or green, depending on the variety and ripeness. Mangoes are also seasonal fruits, meaning they are only available fresh during specific times of the year. In contrast, Bananas contain many small seeds throughout their flesh, although they are typically not noticeable when eating. They have a soft, creamy texture that makes them easy to mash or blend into smoothies. Ripe bananas are usually yellow, and unlike mangoes, they are available year-round, making them a reliable staple in many diets. Understanding these differences and similarities helps us appreciate each fruit's unique qualities, while also recognizing their shared nutritional benefits. This comparison underscores how diverse tropical fruits can be, yet how they often serve similar nutritional roles in our diets. Let's take a closer look at the comparison between online class and live classroom. Starting with online classes, one of the biggest advantages is flexibility. You can often choose a schedule that works best for you, making it easier to balance other commitments. Plus, you can learn from anywhere, whether you're at home, in a cafe, or traveling. Digital resources are readily available, providing a wealth of materials at your fingertips. Self-paced learning is another key feature, allowing you to move through the content at your own speed. Recorded lessons mean you can revisit the material whenever you need a refresher. Now, even with these differences, both online and live classrooms share some core elements. You'll find learning materials, teacher guidance, assignments, discussions, and educational goals in either setting. These are the essential building blocks of a quality educational experience, regardless of the format. Moving on to the live classroom, the emphasis is on face-to-face interaction. Being physically present allows for immediate feedback and assistance, which can enhance understanding. The schedule tends to be fixed, providing a routine that some students find beneficial. The physical environment also plays a role, creating a space dedicated to learning. Social connections are naturally fostered in a live setting, helping students build relationships and collaborate more easily. By comparing these formats, we see that each has its unique strengths. Online classes offer flexibility and convenience, while live classrooms provide direct interaction and social engagement. Understanding these differences helps us choose the best approach based on individual learning styles and goals, aligning with the overall theme of maximizing educational effectiveness through diverse methods. All right, now it's time for a fun interactive activity called Spot the Differences. Take a look at these two school scenarios, one representing online classes and the other a live classroom. As I go through, I want you to click on the items that show differences between the two settings. First, notice the learning environment. With online classes, students are typically learning at home, while in a live classroom, it's within a school building. Next, think about face-to-face interaction. In a live classroom, students and teachers are physically present together, which is quite different from the online setting. Then, compare the learning curriculum content. While the material might be similar, the way it's delivered can differ. Also, consider the teacher's physical presence. It's obvious in a live classroom, but absent in online learning. Moving on, some tasks like completing assignments might feel different, more independent or self-paced online, whereas in a classroom, there might be more direct support. Technology requirements are another key difference, as online learning depends heavily on devices and internet, unlike traditional classrooms. By identifying these differences, we can better understand the unique aspects of each learning environment and how they impact teaching and learning experiences. All right, now let's move on to our interactive activity. I want you to help me complete this Venn diagram by categorizing these characteristics into dogs, cats, or both. As we go through, think about what makes each animal unique, but also what they might share. For example, you'll see typically bark. That's something specific to dogs. On the other side, typically meow is unique to cats. Some traits are shared, like have fur. Both dogs and cats have fur. Now look at independent nature. That's more associated with cats, but some dogs can be independent too. Often more social, tends to fit dogs, since they usually enjoy being around people and other animals. Can be pets applies to both, of course. When you see need food and water, that's true for all living animals, so it belongs in the both circle. Retractable claws are a hallmark of cats, and often more trainable usually points to dogs. take your time and drag each characteristic to the correct area. This activity helps us see the similarities and differences clearly, reinforcing how we understand these animals in our daily lives and our overall theme of animal behavior. Let's take a look at some practice questions to reinforce what we've learned about comparing and contrasting. First, we have a question asking us to compare and contrast cats and dogs. Think about their similarities, like how both are common household pets, and their differences, such as cats being more independent and dogs requiring more attention and exercise. Remember, when answering, aim to identify at least 2 similarities and 2 differences to give a clear comparison. Next, there's a fill-in-the-blank question that tests your understanding of compare and contrast keywords. The sentence reads, "Mangoes are sweet, bananas are also sweet. Mangoes have a pit in the center, bananas have small seeds throughout." Here, words like also, however, or but can be used to connect ideas, helping to show similarities or differences clearly. The third question is about identifying whether statements are comparing or contrasting. For example, "Both books have blue covers" is a comparison because it highlights a similarity, while unlike cats, dogs need daily walks is contrasting, showing a difference between the two. Finally, we have a question asking us to compare and contrast online classes and live classrooms. Think about the advantages of each. For online classes, convenience and flexibility are key benefits. For live classrooms, the immediate interaction and hands-on activities stand out. Remember, understanding these differences and similarities helps us communicate more effectively and appreciate different perspectives. These questions are designed to help you practice and solidify your understanding of comparison and contrast, an essential skill in clear communication. Now let's look at the compare and contrast board game, a fun and interactive way to practice those essential compare and contrast skills. The game is designed to make learning engaging and hands-on. To start, you'll need some materials: a printable game board, game pieces or tokens, dice, and the compare and contrast cards. Setting up is simple. Just place your game pieces at the start position and shuffle the cards so they're ready to draw. During the game, players take turns rolling the dice and moving their pieces forward the number of spaces rolled. When you land on a space, you'll draw a card and complete either a compare or contrast challenge based on what's asked. This keeps the game dynamic and encourages critical thinking. You earn points for each correct answer, 1 point per correct response. The goal is to be the first player to reach the finish line with at least 5 points. This not only fosters friendly competition, but also reinforces the skills we've been discussing throughout the presentation. Overall, this game connects directly to our theme by making the practice of compare and contrast concepts both fun and memorable, helping learners develop these skills in an engaging way. Let's take a closer look at the writing template on this slide. First, we start with the introduction, which includes a hook, something interesting like a fact or question to grab attention. Then, we provide some background by briefly introducing the 2 topics we're comparing. Next, we state our thesis, clarifying whether we're focusing on similarities, differences, or both. Moving into the body paragraphs, each begins with a topic sentence that introduces the comparison point. For each point, we describe how the first item relates, followed by how the second item relates. We then wrap up with a concluding sentence that summarizes the comparison for that point. Finally, in the conclusion section, we restate our thesis to remind the audience of our main argument. We briefly recap the key similarities and differences we've discussed. To end, we offer a final thought, something interesting or thought-provoking related to the comparison. It's also helpful to remember some writing tips. Use compare and contrast keywords. Organize your points either point by point or subject by subject. Include specific examples for each, and use transitional phrases to connect ideas smoothly. When choosing an organization method, consider whether a point-by-point approach or a subject-by-subject approach best fits your comparison. Overall, this template guides us to create clear, balanced, and engaging comparisons that connect directly to our presentation's main theme. Let's review the key points from our slide on summary and key takeaways. First, Remember these important concepts. When we're talking about comparing, we're focusing on finding the similarities between two items. Conversely, contrasting means identifying their differences. It's helpful to use specific keywords to clarify your intent. For comparing, words like both, alike, and similar work well. For contrasting, words like however, unlike, and whereas are very useful. Organizing your ideas visually can make a big difference. Venn diagrams are a great tool because they help you see the similarities and differences clearly before you start writing. A good compare and contrast piece balances both similarities and differences. It's not just about one or the other. This balance makes your writing more complete and insightful. Now let's look at the process. First, you identify the items you want to compare and contrast. Then, list their features or characteristics. Next, organize these features into groups of similarities and differences. Finally, you write your compare and contrast text, keeping these organized ideas in mind. Remember, mastering this process helps you communicate ideas more clearly and effectively. It's all about understanding how things relate to each other and presenting that in a clear, organized way.